Maya sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the ceiling while the slow hum of the fan circled endlessly above her. It was strange how life could be so loud around her. Traffic outside, neighbors talking, notifications buzzing, and yet inside her, there was nothing but a hollow kind of quiet. The kind that didn't soothe. The kind that reminded you of everything missing. She had once been the girl who smiled first in every room, who believed hope was something you could hold, something you could build a life around. But life had chipped away at her. One disappointment at a time. One heartbreak. One silent prayer unanswered. Now she barely recognized herself. Her phone vibrated again. 3 new messages. She didn't need to look. She already knew they were from friends asking if she was okay, and she didn't want to answer because she didn't know how to say I don't know anymore. She hugged her knees and whispered the same question she whispered most nights now. God, are you still there? Do you still see me at all? No thunder, no voice of angels, no miraculous warmth wrapping around her. Just quiet. She could remember a time she believed God spoke to her. A time she felt guided, protected, loved. A time faith felt alive and real. But lately, that faith felt like a dried leaf, fragile, colorless, easily crushed. Maybe she had disappointed him. Maybe she wasn't worthy anymore. Her chest tightened, and she wiped her eyes quickly, as if even her tears were something to hide. Something shameful. She stood up, grabbed her sweater, and stepped outside. She didn't know where she was going, only that sitting still made her thoughts louder. The evening air was cool, and the sky was lined with fading shades of orange melting into deep blue. The streetlights flickered on one by one, casting long, soft shadows across the sidewalk. She walked toward the small park near her apartment, the same path she had taken countless times when she needed space to breathe. The world felt slower there. Trees rustled softly, a swing creaked. Somewhere far away, a dog barked. Life moved, but gently. As she walked past the old wooden bench near the fountain, she noticed an elderly man sitting alone. His clothes were worn, but clean. His eyes were focused on something distant, something beyond the world in front of him. She wouldn't have stopped. She didn't feel like talking, didn't feel like being seen. But as she walked past him, he lifted his head and met her gaze. Not in a way that startled her, but in a way that felt familiar. As if he knew her. As if he had always known her. You look like someone who has been carrying a heavy load for a very long time, he said softly. Maya blinked, caught off guard. She forced a small smile. I'm fine. The man didn't argue. He didn't tell her she was lying. He just nodded gently, as though acknowledging that even the lie came from a place of pain. He looked back toward the fountain before he spoke again. I spoke to God today, he said casually, like someone mentioning they'd spoken to a friend. And he told me that someone would come here tonight, someone he needed me to speak to. Her heart began to beat faster. A strange, soft ache rose in her chest. The man turned to her again, his eyes full of something she hadn't felt in a long time, kindness without agenda. He told me to tell you, you still matter to him. More than you know, more than you believe, more than you feel right now. Maya swallowed hard, her throat tightening. Her heart felt like it was being squeezed, like something inside it was waking up after being numb for too long. He has seen every tear, the man continued. Even the ones you hid in silence. He has watched every night you stayed awake trying to be brave. He has seen you question your worth, your life, your place. And he wants you to know that you are not forgotten. Not abandoned. Not invisible. Maya's eyes filled before she could stop them. She looked away, embarrassed by her own emotion. Why me? She whispered. It was the same question she had asked God night after night. The man stood slowly, his back slightly hunched but his presence steady. Because you are his, he said simply. And God does not let go of his own. The words didn't come like lightning. They didn't crash into her. They sank. Deep, gentle, warm, reaching the places inside her she thought were beyond healing. She wanted to thank him. To ask his name. To ask how he knew. But her voice wouldn't come. He began walking away, taking slow steps down the path. Maya finally found her voice. Wait, she called. But he didn't turn around. He just lifted one hand in a quiet gesture, like someone blessing a child, and continued walking until he disappeared among the trees. Maya stood there, breath shaking, heart trembling. The night felt different now. Not louder, not brighter, just held. For the first time in a very long time, something inside her whispered back to her question. Yes, he was still there, and she still mattered. The next morning, sunlight filtered softly through Maya's curtains, painting warm gold patches across her room. She didn't wake with sudden joy or perfect peace, but she woke with something she hadn't felt in a long time. The willingness to try again. She sat at the edge of her bed, taking a slow breath. The memory of the old man in the park replayed clearly, his calm voice, his gentle eyes, his words that had pierced her like light through darkness. You still matter to him. The words echoed, not as a thought, but as something alive. Maya didn't suddenly know what her future looked like. She didn't know how to fix everything. But she felt something shift deep inside, like a tiny flame rekindling in a place she believed was burnt out long ago. She got up. She washed her face. She tied her hair back. Small things, simple things, but they felt like quiet acts of courage. For the first time in weeks, she answered one of her friend's messages. Just a simple reply, "I'm okay. Thank you for checking on me." Not a full explanation, not a confession of her struggle. Just a step back toward life. She made herself breakfast. Just toast and tea, but she sat at the table instead of eating in bed. As she ate, she watched the world outside her window. People walked by. Birds hopped along the fence. Clouds drifted lazily across the sky. Everything in the world kept moving. And somehow, she felt like she could move with it. Later that afternoon, she walked back to the park. Maybe part of her hoped the old man would be there again. Maybe she wanted to thank him. Maybe she wanted to know who he was, where he came from, how he knew exactly what she needed to hear. But when she got there, the bench was empty. She tried asking a couple of people if they had seen an older man sitting alone, maybe feeding birds or just watching the fountain. "No, haven't seen anyone," a jogger replied. "Not today," an older woman said, shaking her head. It was like he had just appeared and disappeared. Yet Maya didn't feel disappointed. Instead, she felt something else, like the world was wider and more mysterious than she had allowed herself to believe. Like maybe miracles didn't always look like flashes of light and divine voices. Maybe sometimes they looked like an old man on a park bench. She sat on the bench where he had been and closed her eyes. She didn't pray with fancy words or practiced phrases. She simply breathed, letting her heart speak in its own quiet language. "I'm here, God. I don't know what comes next. But I'm here." For the first time in a long time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt like being held. It felt like presence. Not loud, but steady, like the slow rhythm of the earth beneath her feet. Over the next weeks, small things became steps of healing. She went back to work. Not because she suddenly loved it again, but because she didn't want to hide from life anymore. She started journaling. Writing down thoughts she had avoided facing, feelings she had buried, prayers whispered in stolen moments. Some pages were messy with anger. Others were drenched with tears. But slowly, her heart felt lighter. She began walking every evening. Not to escape anymore, but to notice. The way sunlight softened in the late afternoon. The laughter of kids playing. The feel of wind brushing her skin. The quiet hum of life happening around her. One evening as she walked along the path near the park, it began to rain. Not a storm. Just a gentle, steady shower that darkened the pavement and made the air smell clean and new. She didn't run for cover. She let the rain fall on her face, her hair, her clothes, like a soft baptism. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply. And in that moment, she felt it again. Not a voice spoken aloud. Not a vision. Not a miracle. Just a knowing. "I have never left you. I was with you in every silent night. I was beside you when you felt unseen. You are mine." Tears slid down her cheeks, but these ones were different. They didn't hurt. They healed. She realized something important. It wasn't that God had stopped speaking. It was that her pain had grown so loud, she couldn't hear him through it. But now she knew how to listen again. Faith, she understood, was not always the roaring fire she once imagined. Sometimes it was the faintest ember in the coldest night. Sometimes it was just deciding to get up again. To breathe again. to try again. And even when she thought her flame had gone out entirely, God had been guarding those last remaining sparks, waiting for the moment she was ready to feel warmth again. Life didn't become perfect after that. There were days when worry tried to return. Days when she felt tired. Days when the old emptiness tried to whisper to her again. But now she had something stronger than the emptiness. She had a truth planted deep in her heart. She mattered. Her existence was intentional. Her life was seen. Her breath was a prayer. And God, quiet, steady, unchanging, had never let go of her hand. One evening months later, Maya walked through the park again, and she found herself smiling, really smiling. She didn't know what tomorrow would hold. But she knew who held her. And that was enough. It had always been enough.